Hey there and welcome to my channel, A Degree from YouTube. This is a little bit of a different video for me. Normally I'm doing DIY type stuff or posting about my primary sport, which is table tennis. Although one night I did try pickleball and I got absolutely addicted to the sport. That very same week I probably blew $700-800 on gear and started playing right away. In fact, I bought two carbon paddles, one in 14 mil, one in 16 mil, both carbon 1 and carbon 2. They're really great paddles. I love spin, especially coming from table tennis. This video is going to be about carbon being banned from the USAP. As you all may know, they are officially banned from the USAP. I don't know about indefinitely. I'm sure they're working on something between the two, the company Carbon and the USAP. I hope they do work something out. Although, if you do own one of these paddles, it's pretty sad to say that they're no longer allowed in sanctioned tournaments. Now, the main question is, how do you feel about this? Maybe you are pretty upset and you want your money back. Maybe you've already asked for your money back from Carbon. Or maybe you don't care at all. Maybe you don't play sanctioned tournaments and you're going to continue to use your Carbon paddle. So regardless of how you feel or how I feel, as Carbon fans, I think the best thing to do is just to wait this out. While this drama plays out, I think we should just hold on to our paddles and see what happens, because I believe that both Carbon and the USAP will work something out. And if they don't, Carbon will take care of their loyal customers. Carbon, I'm sure, is doing everything they can to make sure that their loyal customers are happy and that they don't lose their business, because they are a small company. Sad to say, they are a very small company, and for this to happen to them is fairly devastating. And I'm hoping that Carbon does survive this. I think that they will. They'll get through it. Although Carbon is doing everything they can to rectify the situation with the USAP, what is going to be the solution? That is the big question. I think what we're all hoping for here is that the USAP reverses their decision on the ban of Carbon paddles and continue to allow Carbon users to play in sanctioned tournaments. Although that might be wishful thinking, we really don't know at this point. Or will the USAP hold their ground and never allow Carbon owners to play with their paddles again? I guess the other side of the spectrum here is that the USAP does not reverse their decision in allowing Carbon to play in sanctioned tournaments, and they in fact make this decision indefinite. So once again, please let me know what you think in the comments below. I kind of want to get an idea of what you think about the USAP and what they will do, or what Carbon's going to do in this situation. I know time will tell, but I kind of wanted to create a forum here as an equipment junkie. This is kind of big news to me because I absolutely love Carbon and I love this game of pickleball. And just also keep in mind, I'm just your average pickleball player that likes to have fun. I'm no different and don't have any credentials or anything like that. Okay, so most of us are hoping that the USAP will reverse their decision on the Carbon ban. And I guess another major question here is, what is going to happen if the USAP decides not to reverse their decision and this becomes indefinite and we can no longer use these paddles whatsoever? Okay, so if the USAP does not reverse their decision on the Carbon ban and this becomes indefinite, the major question is, what are we going to do with our Carbon paddles? Some of you may not care that the USAP banned their paddles and will continue to play with them. Or maybe some of you are pretty pissed off about this. The questions that arise are, will Carbon refund everyone who owns a Carbon paddle and purchase a Carbon paddle? Or will they replace all the paddles with another paddle that is USAP approved? Or Carbon may just be like, sorry, we can't help you and there's nothing we can do about this. Alright, well, that's highly unlikely. I don't think Carbon will do that whatsoever. They have a very successful, small, family-owned business, and they're going to do everything they can to take care of their loyal customers. That's what I truly believe. Okay, so let's go through these questions one by one. Will Carbon refund all the customers who bought a Carbon paddle that is no longer allowed in the USAP in sanctioned tournaments? My best guess is no. I don't think they will refund everybody, and I don't think they should refund everybody. That is a very, very bad chess move, especially for a small company like Carbon. as successful as they are still a very small company, and I don't think they should refund everybody. But maybe they will, but I highly doubt it. It's just not the right move. The second question here is, will Carbon replace all our paddles with a new and approved USAP approved Carbon paddle? Now, I think that this is the most plausible and the cheapest for Carbon, and I think that they could survive this if this is the route that they have to take. I really hope that this is not the route that they have to take, and that USAP just rescinds their decision on the ban of Carbon paddles. But if this is the way that it's really going to go, I think that Carbon will take care of the customers and at least replace the paddles. Now, a full refund of every single person's paddle, Carbon paddle, would be a disaster for the small company, and I don't think they would easily be able to survive that. I'm not too sure. But replacing everybody's paddle is still a huge, huge hit to the company, although I think they could survive this because when they manufacture these paddles in bulk, they're getting them for around $20 to $25 a piece. And don't quote me on that. I'm sure there's a lot more expense involved, especially if they have to create a brand new paddle that is USAP approved. So I think that's the route they will take if this is an indefinite decision by the USAP. What was the third one? Oh yeah, Carbon will be like, sorry, we're not going to replace your paddles. There's nothing we can do about this. I doubt they'll do that. And if they do, I'll be really disappointed. But I don't think that's the way it's going to go. Okay, so here's what I think should happen. I think that the USAP should reverse their decision on the ban of all Carbon paddles, thus allowing Carbon users to continue to play with Carbon paddles in sanctioned tournaments. And the reason being is that if they don't do this, this is going to open Pandora's box. And what I mean by this is, if Carbon failed the field test, I believe there's other paddles out there that don't pass the regulations as well. I know there's a little bit of news recently that the brand new Joola or YOLO, however you say it, paddle by Ben Johns, the Johns Hyperion, did not pass the surface roughness test. And I did post a video on my channel, I'll link it up here or have it in the description below, of that video. It was an unofficial test of the Ben Johns Hyperion paddle failing. Honestly, if I had to choose any other paddle to play with right now, it would be the all-new Ben Johns Hyperion paddle by YOLO. I'm just gonna say YOLO. You know, I don't know if it's YOLO, Joola, whatever it is. I play table tennis, and YOLO is a table tennis company that has stepped into the pickleball world, and I've never been able to pronounce their name, but I think it's YOLO. So yeah, if I had to choose any other paddle, I would choose this Ben Johns Hyperion YOLO paddle CFS, the black one with the blue logo on it, the blue YOLO logo, the 16 millimeter, because it's a very exciting paddle that has a lot of spin, and I'm hearing a lot of good things about it, and it's very similar to the Carbon in a lot of ways from what I can see. But that paddle did not pass an unofficial surface roughness test done by a USAP official. Now, it was definitely unofficial. The official was kind of just walking by, and somehow he ended up testing one of these Ben Johns Hyperion paddles, and it completely failed, like miserably failed. And it wasn't just one paddle he tested another Ben Johns Hyperion CFS paddle, and it failed miserably. That video is raising a lot of questions right now, and YOLO even posted something on their page regarding that video. I think it was regarding that video. But as of now, the Ben Johns Hyperion CFS paddle is still completely legal in sanctioned tournaments and completely legal as far as the USAP goes. But they have not been officially tested. Now, what that video tells me is that if they are tested, that they're probably gonna fail, just like Carbon did. And YOLO is a big company, and Carbon's a very small company. And okay, so this raises another major question here. A big company, multi-million-dollar company that is huge in table tennis, YOLO, comes into the pickleball world and creates a beautiful paddle, and they take in Ben Johns, and you know, this is a very exciting paddle that I'm even excited about, and they do not pass the surface roughness test in this unofficial video. It does raise a lot of questions, this video. And you know, I should note that Currently, this paddle is still 100% legal, USAP approved, and still in the paddle approved paddle list. But the question is why haven't the USAP tested this paddle out? And if they did, would they pass? Okay, so besides Carbon being banned for passing a test that was officially done by the USAP, and the Johns Hyperion paddle, CFS, not passing an unofficial test done by the UFC, what other paddles are out there that may not pass? And the thing that really think about here is that when these paddles do pass the USAP field tests and are accepted into the approved paddle list, initially they're within the guidelines. So what happened with Carbon that their paddles all of a sudden don't pass? Well, I think maybe Carbon had changed something. Maybe Carbon did something after they had passed to make these paddles even more spinny and have higher grit. Whatever they did had to have been after the fact, most likely. And the Ben Johns paddle is so new, and it also passed the field test for the USAP to be accepted into the approved paddle list. But why did this paddle fail this unofficial field test? Who knows? It could be all sorts of things. There's also a possibility that the meter the official was using in that video was not calibrated properly, or it was wrong, or it was broken, something like that. And the Johns Hyperion paddle is just fine, and there's nothing wrong with it as far as it having too much of a surface roughness or grit or whatever it may be that it failed in that video. Although there are other paddles out there that may fail this test other than the Carbon and the Ben Johns paddle, especially the newer ones. It's hard to understand how these paddles failed. I don't want to say that Carbon did this on purpose. I really hope they didn't do this on purpose. But whatever they did do, is they're paying for it now. And it's unfortunate because these Carbon paddles are insane. They have an insane amount of spin. I love it, and I love spin, especially coming from table tennis. And from what I've heard, these Ben Johns paddles are just as crazy. The amount of spin are just nuts. Between these two paddles, there's not too many companies that come close as far as the amount of grip and grab and spin you can put on the ball. Okay, so for those of you who are not concerned about the ban of Carbon paddles by the USAP, maybe you're not concerned because you don't play sanctioned tournaments. All you do is rec play. And that's what most of us do. We just play recreationally. So for those of you who don't care, I would still care personally, even though I mainly play recreational play like I think most people do. The reason I care is because I don't want to be the guy who kicks your ass and then kicks your ass with a Carbon paddle. It just doesn't seem fair. You all know that there's going to be sore losers out there that say, oh, you beat me with a Carbon paddle. That's completely illegal. They're illegal for a reason, and that's why you beat me. Most likely people won't be like that, but they'll at least be thinking about it. And if they are like that, it makes sense because like any sport that's competitive, it's people can be very passionate. And I've seen people be very passionate that are really, really good people in pickleball, and it makes sense, and you can't be mad at that. So yeah, I am upset about this whole USAP ban on Carbon because now I have two Carbon paddles that I don't want to use in rec play. If I do win a match, I don't want to win a match with a paddle that is illegal. Either way, win or lose, I do not want to play rec play with an illegal paddle, and I really hope they do something about it. For the time being, I will continue to play with it until this whole thing is resolved between the USAP and Carbon. But when it comes down to it, if this is an indefinite thing, I think I'll have to switch to maybe the Ben Johns paddle. We'll see. That's a really good paddle. Give me an excuse to buy it. Or maybe I'll just wait it out if Carbon decides to replace the paddles. That would be nice too. So we'll see what happens. But either way, recreational play is, you don't want someone thinking badly of you because you're playing with an illegal paddle. Anyways, for now, I'm just going to hold on to my carbon paddles and wait this out. See what happens in the next week and see what unfolds. So if I had to choose another paddle here, ironically, it would be the all-new Johns Hyperion CFS paddle by YOLO, probably in 16 millimeter. That seems like a very exciting paddle. Although the main question here is what is going to happen if the USAP does not decide to reverse their decision on the carbon ban. Are they going to be forced to test other companies' paddles, such as the new YOLO Ben Johns paddle, which I think they should be tested. YOLO shouldn't get off that easy here, you know what I mean? I think that if YOLO is tested by USAP on their all-new Ben Johns CFS paddle, they're going to fail. And that's what the video shows, and I think it's pretty clear cut. I could be wrong. There could be other reasons why the paddle tested or failed that test in the video. It could be fake. Who knows? I don't think it's fake. But I'm going to hold off on buying any paddles at this point in time until we find out what happens. Now, I really hope that USAP does reverse their decision on the ban for carbon, because this really will open Pandora's box. They're going to have to test the YOLO paddles, and they're going to have to do a field test and make sure that those paddles are legitimate as well. I do have some questions out there, because like a big company coming in like YOLO, what if the USAP just lets them slide? I think that's possible. YOLO has a lot of money. I don't think the world's that twisted, but it can be. If that's the case, and it's really sad, especially sad for a company like Carbon to just be stepped on like that by such a big company. But I don't think that will happen. I think that the USAP will legitimately have to test this Ben Johns paddle that just came out by YOLO and see if they pass or not. Okay, so I really want to know what you guys think about the idea of the big company stepping on the small company. Is that really a thing? Do you think YOLO's coming in with their brand new Ben John paddle series, especially CFS one that we're talking about, and just stepping all over Carbon here? I really hope that's not the case, but I want to know what you guys think in the comments below, because it does sound a little fishy, and I really don't think that's the case, but it's very possible. YOLO has a lot of money, and sometimes money talks in this world, believe it or not. Okay, so all I ask for everyone that is a huge Carbon fan is that we just be patient here and wait this out and see what happens between the USAP and Carbon. Now, if USAP stands by their decision and doesn't allow Carbon paddles back into sanctioned tournaments, then the Carbon is going to have to do something about this. And they're a solid business, but they're a very small family-owned business. I don't think it would be right for them to pay everybody back for their paddles when they stated that they are USAP approved paddles, although I think that they should replace them. That's what makes the most sense, and I think that they could survive this if they just replaced the paddles. I explained that earlier. Now, if this were to happen to YOLO's new paddle, the Ben Johns Hyperion paddle, especially the CFS model, this wouldn't hurt YOLO one bit. They are very well off financially, and like I said earlier, they are huge in table tennis, and they will be just fine if they have to replace every single person's paddle. You know, big company, small company, either way, the right thing has to be done, and I just really hope YOLO's not stepping on Carbon, because Carbon has a kick-ass paddle. They have the best paddle on the market, in my opinion, as far as almost everything goes. They just completely killed it. But, you know, YOLO went in there and really did their homework, and it was fairly easy for them to come up with a paddle that is just as good, if not better, than Carbon's. But they didn't pass. They didn't pass the unofficial test. So if YOLO's next to be banned from the USAP approved paddle list, this will not hurt YOLO that bad at all. And that's what I mean by opening Pandora's box. You know, we're going to have to test everybody's paddle now. You know, everybody's paddle going to have to be tested. So I don't even know how this started to begin with. This happened during the US Open, I think it was. And some player got beat and complained, or several players complained about being beat by players using carbon paddles. Anyways, I don't really know the facts on that, so I don't want to say too much. Like I said, this is just more of a conversation between a fellow pickleball player who wants to speak on this subject and kind of start a forum here and understand everyone's thoughts and opinions, who are also passionate about the sport and the company Carbon, or even the all new Ben Johns paddle. Okay, so what else here? I think that's about it. I just kind of wanted to bring up this subject to the pickleball world and see what your thoughts and opinions were, because I want to talk about it. It's interesting to me. And if it's interesting to you, don't forget to leave a comment below. Also, if you got this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification for future content. With